Today, I will show you a thriller film from 2013 called The Frozen Ground. Spoilers ahead. Watch out, take care. The movie is based from the frightening events that actually happened from the 70s and 80s in Anchorage, Alaska. It depicts the circumstances surrounding the serial killer Robert Hansen, his arrest, and how one of his victims, Cindy Paulson, became an important figure in his arrest. The events in the movie starts in 1983, with the rescue of Cindy Paulson, handcuffed in a motel room. She is brought to the hospital for medical examination, where it is found out that she has had an intercourse. When questioned by the police, Paulson relays that she was abducted by Robert Hansen and tells details of his sexual assault on her. However, due to her being a prostitute, the police don't believe her, saying that the man she says assaulted her is an outstanding citizen and has a perfect alibi during the time of the crime. She is let go by the police, and no cases were filed against Hansen. The police officer who rescued her is frustrated by the turn of events, so he prepared copies of Hansen's previous case files and Paulson's police report to Alaska State Troopers. Meanwhile, State Trooper Jack Holcomb is called to investigate a body found in the moors of Anchorage. They find the body was fed on by bears, and there are some bullet casings nearby. This adds to the number of bodies already found in the past 2 years, and at first the APD denies that the cases are connected and are done by a serial killer. Holcomb receives the case files from the police, and from there he puts things together and creates a temporary profile of the suspect, that the suspect brought the victims to the burial site by boat or by plane, and that instead of dropping the bodies the suspect shoots at them executioner style. The victims also have similarities in which they agreed to meet the suspect for a money date, either for a photo shoot or for oral sex. Holcomb connects these cases to the past crimes of Hansen, and he becomes the primary suspect. He tells his companions that they need to find Cindy Paulson and ask for her cooperation in order to solve the crimes. Holcomb gains another evidence when he meets the sister of one of the victims, asking him to find her sister's body so she can give her a decent burial. She gives Holcomb a bracelet and says that her sister must be wearing the same bracelet. She adds that the jewelry is part of a pair and her sister wears it every day. Holcomb searches for Paulson in the track, an area in Anchorage where strip clubs are prominent and prostitution is rampant. However, he doesn't need to search for long. Paulson comes to his office and gives a detailed account of what really happened. According to her, she is actually 18 years old and has been doing prostitution at a younger age. She was doing her work when Hansen drove by and offered her $200 for oral sex, but when she got into his car he pointed a gun at her. He brought her to his home where he put chains around her neck and forced himself onto her. She says that during her time as Hansen's captive, she still believed that Hansen might let her go, but then she was told that there were 7 girls before her. That's when she knew that she would be his 8th victim. Later he brought her to the runway where he planned to transfer her into a bush plane, and that's when Paulson made her escape. But the interview is cut shortly due to Paulson's traumatic response to recalling the events. Holcomb promises her protection if she will stand witness against Hansen, but Paulson is too scared to do so. Holcomb pursues the case against Hansen, but is unable to procure a warrant. The district attorney doesn't want to issue any warrants due to the evidences against him being circumstantial, even with the FBI profile that matches him, and Paulson's unwillingness to testify doesn't help. Months pass and Holcomb is still trying to get evidence against Hansen. Meanwhile, Paulson starts her job as a stripper, where she is found by her previous pimp Clayt. He tries to tell Paulson to come back to him as one of his prostitutes. One night while working in a strip club, Paulson spots Hansen, and she panics. He also sees her, and, frustrated, he goes back to his house thinking about what to do to his previous victim. Meanwhile, Paulson decides to leave the state, but is stopped before boarding the plane, and she is met by Holcomb. The state trooper still tries to convince her to stand witness, but she isn't willing to do so. Holcomb decides to bring Paulson home, but the action only aggravated the already strained relationship between Holcomb and his wife due to his dedication to his job and having no time for his family. Paulson hears this and decides to get out of the house. She goes straight to her previous pimp's place and takes on the job as a prostitute. While outside, Paulson has had an epiphany, and decides to end her life. She enters a club, goes straight to a bathroom and overdoses on pills and cocaine. Hansen sees her enter the club and follows her, but narrowly misses her as Holcomb got to her first. He brings Paulson to a hospital. Hansen decides to entail the help of another pimp, Carl Galenski, to find and finish Paulson off. Galenski calls Clayt, Paulson's previous pimp, and asks him to turn her over to him as payment for a previous debt. Clayt agrees, but he doesn't know that Paulson is in the hospital. One day, he stakes out at Hansen's house. Hansen finds out about this and panics. He grabs the guns and jewelries that he kept as keepsake from his victims, and flies off to one of his hunting spots and hide them there. Holcomb follows and tries to stop Hansen, but fails to do so. Holcomb tries again to gain a warrant for Hansen, and this time he succeeds. The state troopers detain Hansen while the others search his house. Halcombe questions Hansen about his past crimes, and whether he is involved in the 8 cases of missing person and in Cindy Paulson's case, but Hansen denies all the accusations. In his house, the police can't find any evidence that can link Hansen to the crimes. In the succeeding days of searching Hansen's home and questioning him, Hansen is arrested on the charges of kidnapping and raping Cindy Paulson, and requests for a lawyer. The lawyer informs him that with Paulson's testimony, he might get 99 years in prison. In the meantime, the police have a breakthrough in their search of Hansen's home. They find a box of jewelries and .223 rifle in the attic, and one of them found an aerial map of Anchorage with little X marks on it. At home, Halcombe tells his wife about the progress they made in the case, and apparently his wife has had a change of heart and fully encourages Halcombe to catch the suspect. Back in the hospital, Paulson escapes her guard and calls Clayt to help her go to the police. However, she doesn't know that Clayt has already made arrangement with Galensky, and so he drives Paulson to an unknown place to meet him. Paulson panics, but in the heat of Galensky and Clayt's argument, she finds a way to escape. She tries to call Halcombe and tells him to meet her at Clayt's place. Galensky kills Clayt and follows her. He catches up to her and drags her out of the building. In the nick of time, Halcombe arrives and is able to save her from him. Finally, she agrees to testify against Hansen. Hansen is under interrogation again. This time he is with his lawyer and the district attorney is the one questioning him. Despite the guns found in Hansen's home that match the bullet shells found with the body, they still can't make murder charges against Hansen. Halcombe enters the interrogation and presents the aerial map to Hansen. He asks him why the X marks on the map coincide with the spots where they found the murder victims, but Hansen still denies it and defends that they are his hunting spots. More determined, Halcombe shows him the bracelet previously given by the victim's sister as evidence, and Hansen falls silent. Finally, in the film, Paulson appears at the door of the interrogation room, and Hansen loses it. He shouts at her that he should have killed her when he had the chance. This shocks the district attorney and his lawyer, and this statement brings the nail to his coffin. In the next scene, Hansen confesses to 17 murders and rape of another 30. Hansen leads the police to where his victims' bodies can be found, but only 11 bodies were recovered. In the end, Robert Christian Hansen is charged with the kidnapping and rape of Cindy Paulson, and the murders of 4 women, including the unidentified body known as Eklutna Annie. He's sentenced to 461 years plus life sentence, never eligible for a parole. Meanwhile, Jack Halcombe was promoted to commander of Criminal Investigation Bureau, and at the time of the movie, he has retired. Cindy Paulson lived a private life, and as the movie says, it is the first time she has told her story. The movie ends by showing the pictures of Hansen's 11 victims. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch videos like this. Thanks for watching.